You're tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. Not the kind people notice. It's quieter than that. It sits under everything. You wake up already feeling like the day asked too much. Even on days when nothing is actually wrong. No crisis, no drama, no clear reason, and that almost makes it worse. Because when there's no obvious problem, you start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're weak, if you're ungrateful, if you're imagining it, but you're not. This kind of tired doesn't come from your body. It comes from carrying things no one sees. From holding yourself together without witnesses. From being functional while something inside keeps sinking. You still show up, you still answer messages, you still do what needs to be done. And everyone assumes you're fine. Because from the outside, nothing looks broken. But inside, there's this dull heaviness. Like you're always one step behind your own life. Like everything takes more effort than it should. You don't talk about it much. Not because you don't want help, but because you don't know how to explain it. How do you say you're exhausted when you can't point to a cause? How do you describe a pain that has no sharp edge? It's just there, constant, low volume, never loud enough to justify stopping. So you keep going, and that's the part no one applauds. This tiredness doesn't get sympathy. It doesn't get concern. It doesn't even get language. People understand stress. They understand burnout. They understand grief when there's a clear loss. But this quiet exhaustion, it makes people uncomfortable, because there's nothing to fix, nothing to blame, so you learn to minimize it. You tell yourself others have it worse. You tell yourself you should be grateful. You tell yourself to push through. And you do, until pushing becomes your normal. Until rest feels undeserved. Until stillness feels unsafe. Sometimes you catch yourself wondering when this started. Was it a specific moment? A decision? A loss? A disappointment you never fully processed? Or did it grow slowly, layer by layer? From years of adapting, of being strong, of being the one who doesn't fall apart. Maybe it came from learning early that your feelings were inconvenient, that you had to stay composed, that being okay made things easier for everyone else. So you became good at it. Too good. Good at swallowing reactions. Good at staying calm. Good at not needing much. And over time, that skill turned into weight. Not heavy enough to crush you. Just heavy enough to wear you down. This kind of tired makes you feel disconnected. From joy, from excitement, from yourself. Things that used to feel natural now feel distant. You laugh, but it doesn't land the same. You rest, but it doesn't restore you. You succeed, but it doesn't fill you. And that scares you a little. Because you can't remember the last time you felt fully present. Fully here. You might even feel guilty for feeling this way. After all, your life looks fine. You're functioning. You're surviving. You're doing what you're supposed to do. So why does it feel like something inside is asking for attention? Quietly, relentlessly. This isn't laziness. It's not weakness. And it's not something you can think your way out of. It's more like an internal signal. Not an alarm. Not a breakdown. Just a steady pulse saying something is being carried alone. Something has been going unacknowledged. And the strange thing is, the more you ignore it, the louder it feels. Not in sound, but in weight, in slowness, in the way everything feels slightly harder than it should. You might notice it most at night, when the world finally quiets down, when there's nothing left to distract you. That's when the tiredness shows its real shape, a mix of sadness and emptiness, of longing and numbness, not dramatic enough to cry over, not sharp enough to name, just deep enough to keep you awake. You scroll, you distract yourself, you replay conversations, you imagine different versions of yourself. The one who feels lighter, the one who didn't get this tired, the one who somehow missed this phase. But here you are, and part of you wonders if this stage means something, if it's random, or if it's trying to tell you something without words. Because this tiredness doesn't feel accidental. It feels intentional, like a pause you didn't schedule, like a question you haven't answered. Not a punishment, not a failure, just a moment where something internal is shifting. And you're standing in the middle of it. Most people never talk about this part. They either collapse or pretend. They either burn out loudly or keep smiling quietly. Very few admit to this in-between place, where nothing is falling apart, but nothing feels whole either. If this resonates, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're aware enough to notice the weight, aware enough to feel the absence, aware enough to sense that this tiredness is different, that it isn't asking for sleep. It's asking to be noticed, not solved, not fixed, just seen. There's a reason this feels lonely. Because it's not the kind of pain people gather around. It's solitary, internal, unshareable. Even when you try to explain it, the words come out wrong. So you stop trying, and that silence becomes part of the exhaustion. Being unseen takes energy. Being misunderstood takes energy. Being okay when you're not takes the most. This video isn't here to tell you what to do with that. It's not here to reframe it or label it. It's just here to sit with you in it. To acknowledge that this kind of tired exists. That it has depth. That it has meaning, even if that meaning isn't clear yet. Maybe this is a threshold. Not an ending. Not a solution. Just a moment where your inner world is asking for a different kind of attention. Not urgency. Not pressure. Just honesty. And maybe the most important thing to hear right now is this. You're not imagining it. You're not weak for feeling it. And you're not alone in this phase, even if it feels that way. There's something on the other side of this tiredness. Not clarity. Not relief. But understanding. And it doesn't come all at once. It comes slowly. In pieces. In moments where you finally stop arguing with how you feel. And start listening. Not for answers. Just for direction. If this tiredness could speak, it wouldn't shout. It wouldn't accuse. It would whisper. And it would ask you something you haven't asked yourself yet. Not today. Not all at once. But soon. And when you're ready to hear that question, this won't feel as heavy. It will still be there. But it won't feel pointless. Until then, just know this. This tiredness is not the end of you. It's part of a process most people never name. And there's more to it than you've heard so far. Much more. And you don't have to figure it out right now. You just have to stay with it. For a little longer. There's a moment when you realize this tiredness has changed the way you move through the world. Not dramatically. Not in ways other people would notice. But in small, quiet adjustments. You pause longer before responding. You hesitate before committing. You conserve energy without meaning to. Almost like something inside you knows you can't afford to waste what little you have left. You start choosing silence more often. Not because you have nothing to say, but because speaking feels expensive. Every word costs something. Every explanation takes more than it gives back. So you nod. You smile lightly. You say, "I'm fine," because it's shorter than the truth. And you don't have the strength to translate what's happening inside you. This tiredness teaches you restraint. It teaches you how to survive with less. Less emotion on the surface. Less expectation. Less hope placed in things that once excited you. And that can feel scary. Because part of you wonders if you're shrinking. If you're slowly becoming someone quieter, flatter, less alive. But another part of you knows this isn't numbness. It's protection. A way of not spilling everything when there's no one there to catch it. You might notice that you feel older than you are. Not in your body, but in your awareness. You've seen enough cycles. Enough patterns. Enough disappointment to know that enthusiasm comes with a cost. So you guard it. You ration it. You don't give it away easily anymore. And that's not bitterness. It's fatigue with repetition. Fatigue with hoping hard and landing soft. Fatigue with pretending things don't affect you as deeply as they do. There's also a strange clarity that comes with this tiredness. You see through things faster. Empty conversations. Surface-level advice. People who speak in cliches. You don't have the patience for it. Not because you're cynical, but because your inner world has become too heavy for shallow language. You need honesty now, even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if it's uncomfortable. This is why certain noises feel louder. Certain demands feel heavier. Certain expectations feel unbearable. It's not that they're new. It's that you've reached a point where carrying them quietly has started to hurt. And instead of breaking, you're slowing down. Pulling inward. Listening more closely. Even if you don't fully understand what you're hearing yet. You might notice guilt woven into this tiredness. Guilt for not being as available as before. Guilt for needing space without knowing how long you'll need it. Guilt for changing without permission. People might say you've become distant. That you're harder to reach. That you don't seem as enthusiastic. They may not say it out loud. But you feel it, and part of you wants to explain. To defend yourself. To say you're not pulling away from them. You're pulling towards something inside yourself that's been ignored for too long. But you don't say that. Because you're not sure they'd understand. And you're not sure you fully understand it either. This tiredness doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't arrive with clarity. It shows up as confusion. As fog. As a sense that something needs to change, but nothing feels ready yet. And that in-between space is exhausting. Waiting without knowing what you're waiting for. Feeling called inward without knowing what you're being called to. It can make you restless. Irritable. Emotionally thin. You might feel like you're failing at things you used to handle easily. Tasks feel heavier. Decisions feel slower. Your tolerance is lower. And then comes the self-judgment. The quiet criticism. The voice that says you should be better than this by now. But this isn't regression. It's not falling apart. It's reorganization. And reorganization always looks messy from the inside. There's a reason this stage feels lonely. Because most people rush past it. They numb it, they distract themselves. They fill the silence with noise so they don't have to hear what's underneath. But you didn't. Maybe you couldn't. Maybe something in you refused. So here you are. Feeling more than you can explain. Carrying more than you show. Existing in a space where nothing is technically wrong, yet nothing feels settled. This tiredness has a texture. It's not panic. It's not despair. It's heaviness mixed with awareness. Like standing in a room right before the lights change. You sense movement, but you don't see it yet. And that uncertainty can feel unbearable at times. You may start questioning your past choices. Wondering if you missed something. If you stayed too long. If you adapted too much. If you learned to survive in ways that no longer fit who you're becoming. These questions don't demand answers right now. They just hover. They remind you that something inside you is awake. Even if it's exhausted, this tiredness isn't asking you to quit your life. It's not asking you to disappear. It's asking you to notice where you've been carrying weight that was never meant to be permanent. Weight that made sense once. Weight that protected you, but weight that now asks to be acknowledged. Not dropped, just acknowledged. You don't need to act on it today. You don't need to make big decisions. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. This stage isn't about action. It's about recognition, about admitting, quietly, that something internal is shifting. And that pretending otherwise costs too much. There's a reason you found this video. Not by accident, not because you were looking for answers, but because you were looking for language. For something that didn't rush you, didn't minimize you, didn't try to fix you. Just something that stayed. If you're still listening, it's because part of you feels seen. Not relieved, not healed, just seen, and that matters more than people realize. Because being seen changes how heavy things feel, not by removing the weight, but by reminding you that the weight has meaning, and meaning makes endurance possible. This tiredness is not a dead end. It's not a sign that you've failed. It's not proof that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that you've reached a depth most people avoid, and depth always demands a pause, a slowing, a listening. You don't have to understand it yet. You don't have to name it. You don't have to explain it. You just have to stop fighting the fact that it's here. Because the moment you stop fighting it, something subtle happens. Not relief, not peace, but alignment, a quiet sense that you're no longer betraying yourself by pretending you're fine. And that's where this continues. Not with answers, not with solutions, but with attention, with presence, with the willingness to stay with the discomfort a little longer. Because this tiredness isn't random, and it's not meaningless. And there's more to it than what fits in one video. Much more, but that comes next. Not all at once. Not today. Just soon enough. And when you're ready to go further, you'll know. Because this feeling won't let you forget it. It will keep tapping, quietly, from the inside, asking you to listen again, and again, and again.